So Shakespeare's genres, he had definitely had tragedies and comedies, but then Shakespeare is virtually responsible for a genre called histories or history plays. And he wrote a whole bunch of Henry plays. Generally, he was writing those histories in order to make the current king or queen feel they were on his side or thought of him highly. There is also another category or another genre of play that some people consider a separate genre, which is called tragicomedy. And this is a type of play that bridges both tragedy and comedy. It sort of brings them together. Some people consider it a tragedy that has a happy ending, but it's a play that isn't just one or the other. Shakespeare is one of the first, if not first, playwrights to successfully understand that if you get an audience laughing at something, you can then drop some serious subject matter on them and it hits them, has more of an impact. And he was also one of the first playwrights to understand that if the play is getting too serious, way too serious, a scene that lightens the mood helps the audience be able to deal with the tragedy, to deal with the despair they might be feeling for the characters. And it allows them just a little break from it so you can get back down deeper into it. And if you guys could see me, I'm talking with my hands. Sorry, you can't see all the little diagrams I'm drawing in the air. A couple of examples of Shakespeare's tragicomedies are The Tempest and All's Well That Ends Well. We should now mention dramaturgy. Dramaturgy is a area of theater. It's actually dramaturgy has become a job in theater. So there's a dramaturg is what you're called if you are into dramaturgy. Dramaturgy is all about the construction of plays and their and the dramatic performance. So plays are well known for being structured in a very specific way. A dramaturg is someone who has studied that kind of structure and they understand it and they can recognize it. So what they can do for a playwright when a dramaturg and a playwright are working together is the dramaturg can analyze the play for structural reasons and make suggestions to the playwright on how he or she might better structure the play to make it more successful. And then if a dramaturg is working with a director, the dramaturg can help the director better understand the style of the play within the period in which it was written. They might be able to help the director better understand the structure of the play so that the director knows how to I'm going to say the structure of the play so the playwright knows better how to structure the performances or structure the entertainment so that it gets across the message that he or she wants it to get across. So then there are two ways of kind of looking at the components, the structure of drama, and that is along a vertical axis or a horizontal axis. So the vertical axis, the components of a play are plot, characters, theme, diction, music, spectacle, and convention. The first 6 of those are directly from Aristotle's Poetics. Convention is something that's been added on later. The horizontal axis of the play is the actual temporal experience of the play. So what that is how an audience member experiences the play from pre-play, so before they get into the theater, through the play, which can be further broken down, and then the post-play, so after the performance. And we'll get into that. So the 7 components of a play. Plot. This is where we have these confusing terms. Most of us nowadays use the term plot and story interchangeably. And they shouldn't be used interchangeably because they're not the same. Plot is only the part of the story that you see when you're watching the play, that you actually see in front of you. The story is everything else. So it can be things that you hear about that happen off stage. It can be things that you hear about that happened before the play started. So if you learn about the history of characters, that's all part of the story, but it's not part of the plot. And another way to think of plot is the structure of the actions. So if you look at the actions of the play, one thing leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next, well, that one thing leading to the next, leading to the next is the plot. It's what you're seeing up there while you're watching the play. Characters, it's interesting. Characters, there's all kinds of ways to think. So from a playwright's point of view, a playwright creates a character for a play because that character is the best to carry out the plot that the playwright is writing. So you don't add in characters that don't help the plot. You only use characters that help the plot, and you give those characters characteristics or behaviors that help the plot. And character isn't something solely that is done by the playwright, though. So the playwright gives a skeleton. The actors, with the director's help, flesh out that skeleton. They create the whole character. To the characters, and I've used one of these terms already, protagonist is the lead character. He's the one that is actually moving the action forward. And then another character who stands in the way of the protagonist is the antagonist. And the antagonist is simply that. He's what's in the way of the protagonist. It is possible, though, for the antagonist not to be a person, but an antagonist can be a thing. It's possible that, say, the protagonist is trying to convince people to change their ways, and what's in the way of him succeeding is a mindset that is predominant in the culture. So that's not a person, that's just a thing. I hope that makes sense. Theme is an abstract intellectual term. Every play has a theme. It's what the play is about on not a superficial level, but underneath it all. What's there, the substance of it. When you think about art and you think about an artist trying to convey something to an audience. So what they're trying to convey is the theme. Often the playwright is unaware of what the theme is. There are some very famous playwrights who have written Pulitzer Prize and Tony-winning plays that say they do not write on themes, and yet it's obvious if you read the works, they do write on themes. Theme is often something that, again, much like the genre, theme is something that people who have watched the work of art, watched the play, decide on what the theme is. It's not necessarily important that the playwright know what the theme is. As a matter of fact, quite often, plays that are theme heavy, so that it is really, really obvious what the playwright was intending the theme to be, are considered preachy, or they're considered, they kind of hit you over the head with what they're about. Another component is diction, and nowadays we think of diction as how clearly something is spoken, but when Aristotle was talking about diction, he was more talking about how the dialogue was delivered and how it was written. Is it written in slang? Is it written in formal language? Is it written in poetry? Is it not written in poetry? When Aristotle was writing these components of theater, of plays, all plays had music involved in them. They were all choral in some form or other. And so he talked about the orchestration or the music of a play. But music of a play can be thought of nowadays as the noise, the sound that's involved in a play. and the sound involved in the play can heavily influence how you see that work of art. The last one that Aristotle talked about is the spectacle of a play. And so spectacle is all the visual aspects of the play: costume, masks, wigs, the set, the lighting effects, all of that is the spectacle.